edition of This Morning with the newsbreak coming in on a joint statement that's now been released by the MEA on the 2+2 talks that were held between India and Australia. In fact, some of the outcomes of the 2+2 talks include reiterating support to Israel in the war against Hamas. Not just this, discussions have been held on the Indo-Pacific situation, the Middle East crisis as well in wake of the the Israel-Hamas war. Russia-Ukraine war as well was discussed in the meet. Other than this, talks were also held on crisis in Myanmar and regional impact as well. The leaders have called for implementation of ASEAN's 5-point consensus on the Myanmar crisis. So a statement that's now been released by the MEA, which says that the ministers expressed their deep concern at the deteriorating situation in Myanmar and its impact on regional security and stability. The leaders called for an immediate cessation of violence, the release of those arbitrarily detained, safe access for humanitarian assistance, resolution of the crisis through dialogue and transition through federal democracy. They reaffirmed the support for ASEAN-led efforts in addressing the crisis in Myanmar and called for the full implementation of ASEAN's 5-point consensus. So those are the statements that have come in from the MEA, which also mentions the Israel-Hamas war, specifically the targeted attack on Israel on 7th of October. Both sides, India as well as Australia, have reaffirmed that they stand with Israel against terrorism and call for adherence to international humanitarian law, including the protection of civilians. They call for immediate release of all remaining hostages. Also note that this comes in the backdrop of reports suggesting that there could be possible release of hostages and that Israel and Hamas have possibly come to a consensus on release of hostages, and details also coming in of US having probably played the role of brokering this issue between Israel and Hamas when it comes to release of hostages. The statement by the MEA also mentions that the ministers committed to continue coordinating with partners in the region, which is Gaza, on humanitarian assistance to meet the urgent needs of Palestinian civilians in Gaza. They expressed support for humanitarian pauses and committed to continue close diplomatic coordination, including with key partners in the region, to prevent the conflict from spreading, preserve stability in the Middle East, and work towards a political solution and durable peace. So India and Australia very, very strong in their statement when it comes to taking a stand in the Israel-Hamas war, saying that they stand by Israel and that it was nothing but a terror attack on part of Hamas which happened on 7th of October.